It's August 8th, 2024. It's my second drum review book. I just read a lot, so bear with me. My second book review of a drummer on the same day. I just power read through all of this. And it's not a long book, it's barely over 200 pages. But I've been doing a whole bunch of drummer autobiographies, reviews in the last month and a half. And this is the one that I least enjoyed out of all of them. And I got to be honest with you, I almost didn't buy this book. And it's because I'm not as big an Aerosmith fan as some of the other guys that I've read about here. Although some of the guys I read about were jazz guys, and I'm more into their solo power probably than their actual compositions work. But I mean, obviously, I grew up alongside Aerosmith's music and like it. Their records, early especially, were more hard rock and were hit and miss. And the later ones were pop kind of creations with other people writing the songs. That era was kind of weird, not my favorite. I saw them one time at the Forum, and frankly, they were boring. All of us were excited to see Aerosmith, and they were playing these slow, drony blues songs rather than the rock and Aerosmith songs. And that was probably in around 92, somewhere around then. And I'm not talking about the girly hit songs. They played a few of those, and then they played a few rockin' songs. But other than that, they went off this weird slow blues jam tangent that it was one of the worst shows I'd ever seen because it was boring. But the problem with this book is it's not a drummer book. He's a drummer, and it ain't about drums. All the other books that I've read about, at least to a small degree, were about drums, and this one's not. It's about drugs. From beginning to end, it's about drugs. The very beginning just jumps right into drug abuse. It goes on for several, probably 30 pages before it gets past his dad and his bad relationship with his dad. And then finally, I think it was about page 67, they start getting into the Aerosmith. And he was already a deep druggie. He had hepatitis. He was all health-wise screwed up. He'd been shooting heroin and everything already. So I had no idea any of this, and it was just gross. I mean, the other books I read talking about going on tour and, you know, Carmine Appice's book about sleeping with gobs of women, which is more the stereotypical rock star book. This was like, you didn't hear much about women or nothing because it was drugs the whole dang time. And the other band members were all screwed up. I remember it as a kid listening to a radio interview, and it was after they had done their 10-year-long hiatus, and they were coming back, and they said, well, why'd you have to leave? And they said something to the effect of Steven Tyler had snorted half of Columbia. And, you know, you kind of think it's funny when you hear these little rock anecdotes and things like that. But when you read it in this fashion where it's just pervasive, like his whole life is nothing but drugs, and it's just gross. And I'm just going to say it now. I've never smoked a marijuana cigarette my whole life, never done any drugs other than drinking alcohol occasionally. So for me, I mean, what's the point, right? I could see perhaps where he's trying to reach people and give them a warning tale and say, stay off this stuff because you don't want to end up all screwed up and go through the troubles that I went through, which is honorable and everything, but it's not what I want to read about. Hit hard. You'd think it's, I look at that and, oh, it's drumming, but then the subtitle, a story of hitting rock bottom at the top. It's kind of like, okay, well, is that going to be business or relationship problems or, you know, getting kicked out of the band? I've been on drugs the entire time and I don't even know who I am. It's just really bleak, depressing. He suffered from depression at the end. It's kind of like, oh, good thing this is a short book because it's got a lot of pictures in it, and the pages are real short reading because they're interspersed with half pages and a lot of pictures, thankfully. So the other thing I've got to say is it's got the Nikki Sixx interview. Like somehow that makes this book more valid because Nikki Sixx, the biggest poser on earth, is the one doing the intro. I can't stand Nikki Sixx. Team McMars, FYI, he got mistreated by a guy that doesn't even play his bass live. And Nikki Sixx is a poser and a joke. And I wish, and his intro was basically, he shouldn't even have written one because it was worthless and pointless and just stupid. And that's what Nikki is. He's just stupid. But anyway, this book, out of all the drummer books I've read, worst one. It's not a drummer book. And the only thing I really learned is that Steven Tyler kind of taught him how to play drums, in essence. Maybe not taught him, but coached him, I guess is the word. And Steven Tyler is like the band dictator, it seems like. Whether that's good or bad for the outcome of the records and songs, I don't know. But we were just watching Pawn Stars today, and Corey was making the claim that Aerosmith got big right out of the gate. And I sat there, shook my head, and said, no. And they were playing with Canned Heat or somebody. I can't remember who it was. Not Vanilla Fudge, not Canned Heat. I don't remember who it was. Some band you don't really think about. And they were the opener. And this is like going on for a couple of years. Then they'd have a couple hit there and there. Basically, they shot to the top with Walk This Way and Dream On the same album. It was Toys in the Attic. They went straight up. And even he says in the book, then they went basically nothing but down. And then they quit. And then they had a reform. And most of his book is about getting over his dad and his troubled childhood and drugs. And I didn't like it at all. Don't buy it.